Welcome to the Champions of Change podcast, where we celebrate the inspiring stories of Black male educators who are transforming schools and empowering the next generation. Each episode highlights their journeys, challenges, and triumphs as they break barriers, uplift communities, and redefine what it means to lead in education. Tune in to be inspired, informed, and motivated by the powerful voices of those making a positive impact where it matters most, in our classrooms and in our schools. And now your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Welcome to Champions of Change, the podcast where we shine a light on the voices, victories, and vision of Black male educators who are transforming lives and rewriting narratives in our schools and communities. I'm your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and I'm honored that you, our listeners and viewers, have joined us today. My guest for this episode is someone whose work embodies what this podcast is all about: change, liberation, and authenticity. Dr. Paris Echoles is a transformational educator, a leader, and the founder of Born Gift3d LLC, a mission-driven consulting firm rooted in healing, identity, and purpose. For nearly 2 decades, Dr. Echoles has dedicated his life to reimagining what's possible for Black youth, communities, educators, and the systems that serve them. Raised in the face of adversity and shaped by revolutionary love, he brings a powerful blend of academic insight and lived experiences to every classroom, boardroom, and community he touches. His work centers authenticity, cultural truth, and the limitless power of people. Dr. Echoles, welcome to Champions of Change. I am so excited that you are here. This is a long time coming.
Oh yeah. We met on a call together, and
Yes.
whatever it was about my story, it sparked something. You wanted to learn a little bit more, have more conversation. So I'm more than welcome to do that. I
I love
appreciate
it.
everything you're doing. I appreciate uplifting, other brothers and other leaders out here doing this
Absolutely.
work. To be a part of.
Absolutely. Thank
So
you.
so
Thank you. Oh my God. Let's dive right in. I am really interested in learning about the beginning of your journey in education, as well as being a community leader. Who or what inspired you?
Man, that's a loaded question. The very first person I always got to give homage to, in terms of practicality here on Earth, is my mother, and her strength and her wisdom. And I also am old enough and appreciate the work now, her drive to and pursue excellence from us, and want to make sure that we knew how great we were. Despite our circumstances and things that I had to overcome in my life, she always ensure that we had access and understanding of who we were. But then, also, one of the greatest role models for me growing up, and the way it was taught to me was, putting God first, and just think about creation from that standpoint. And, just that being a rock for us. She very much wanted to make sure that we knew that we came from a spiritual energy. I'll put it that way: a spiritual energy that we should also be tapping into, because we were made of the same thing. Then I think more so for her, also what she was into. So I think I wrote things like Tupac, and understanding who he was and his revolutionary spirit. My mom was very much, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. So, Black Panthers, the Afros, Black culture leaders. I was an athlete, so Michael Jordan was a huge individual that I got, like, a lot of my discipline and hard work from, and striving for greatness came from him, as a fatherless youth. So lots of sources of inspiration, to kind of push and want to be the best leader in community I could be.
So you've spoken about being shaped by revolutionary love in the face of adversity. That is a powerful phrase. How did your personal experiences growing up influence your philosophy of education and leadership?
Ah, man, I think this idea of you are great and appreciated and love despite what you don't have, despite where you come from, and honestly, despite what society or others around you may think of you based on those particular factors. You know, what I mean, I think uh, I'm able to understand more now what it means to see communities that look like me constantly have to persevere and push and be resilient. And watching that in my own household, it kind of lit a fire under me. And I was blessed, to have a mother who always ensured that, she let us know it's not about the things I'm not able to provide for you. It's not about the things I'm unable to do for you. I have a love for you all as my children, and I want the very best for you all, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to make that happen. So me growing up with a mother like that, and then her introducing us to, I said, like I just was naming other examples of uh, people who did not also have a line, but still made huge impact, was very attractive to me. So I think oftentimes in our stories, you hear, a lot about people who don't, growing up in a single parent household, and, someone is, you know, left by themselves and left to tend for themselves. That wasn't my story. I knew very young, even her passion for education herself. She always told us, you're going to graduate, you're going to, do something with your life. Life out here is very hard. That right there for me is when I think about revolutionary love, is beyond like the typical love we talk about with family. Are your needs provided? Do you have shelter? Do you have food? For her, it very much was, my expectations are so high for you all because I care so much about you and love you so much.
Wow, that truly is powerful, and it sounds like your mom is an absolute wonderful person, without a doubt. Oh my goodness! Now you created Born Gifted. This is such a mission-driven organization. And what does that name, Born Gifted, mean to you?
Oh man, like, despite where you come from, despite, the adversities you have to face, and I think more importantly, from a standpoint for me, uh, the phrase itself came as part of my origin story with the brand while I was driving into work one day back in 2013, and just really, in a state of depression. Fight out at that time, I was the coordinator of equity and student and family engagement, and just really seeing what our systems, were not providing. It was just an urgency I felt, and then I was starting to realize the wear and tear it was having on me. And I kid you not, it was kind of as I was listening to some music, it kind of was like, hey, a spirit spoke to me like, hey, you're born gifted. Despite what you're going through, you are able to overcome. You come from greatness. You think about the brand. I have the crown on there. Thinking about our origin is not just what we're taught often in terms of our start here in this country. And then I learned later, a few years later, that my own father, before he was killed, told my aunts, his sisters, that I was born gifted too. Like, so it was a fascinating for me to know that, like, out of all these years of striving for connection, and trying to have or find peace, in my spirit, without, growing up as a black man, without a dad, that there was still a part of him that was still imparted in me that came to me that I'm able to now live in the brand. I think even with the logos, you see it, there's the three, where the E is at. That's how old I was when my father was killed. So it's always, and it's over my heart. So it's just the homage of how can I, as an individual, take what I've continued to learn. With the brand, we have gifted game, and that's knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So thinking about what's the knowledge I have, the wisdom I have, and how can I give that back to our communities, and like work in different organizational spaces to help individuals who say they want to lift our communities. I want to be a part of helping them understand to do that work. We have to actually put work in not only on ourselves, but to know the very people that we're trying to actually shape because they are born gifted.
Wow.
It's any type of the lack of growth or the plight of our people in this country is not because of our lack of ability or our lack of intellect or our lack of strength.
Wow.
So I want individuals to know that, you are gifted. I want the world to know that our people are gifted. And I want the world to know that, no matter who you are, no matter what your background is, yes, you see a black king on this shirt. But for me, it's more about how can we all wrap our arms around a group of people who need the most love in our country, to understand that they are so dope, that they should have pride, they should have dignity in who they are.
Wow. I love intentionality. Like when you're intention, when you're deliberate about the work that you're doing, I love that. I love for everything to have meaning.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you have demonstrated here. It was very thoughtful and very intentional, and I love that. Now, your firm, it really centers around healing, identity, and purpose. Why are these three pillars so critical in the work of reimagining education and community systems for our Black youth?
Yeah, I'm currently reading Dr. Dennis Kimbrough's Think and Grow Rich, the Black Choice text, and one of the most brilliant parts in there for me talks about self-awareness, and that you can tell how individuals think and feel and believe about themselves based on their actions and how they show up. For me, it's this idea that if I can teach you who you are and you know who you are and where you come from, you will care about yourself enough to want to make sure that you do whatever it takes to stay well and stay healthy and be here for a long time. So that's the healing part. And then the purpose part is once I teach you who you are, you know who you are, how valuable and great you are, and you want to take care of yourself, then you want to actually spread that knowledge, that wisdom, and carry that on to other individuals outside of yourself. And that's the purpose part. And I saw connecting that to education. I think, a lot of times, even my entire journey in education at 17 started when I was doing some work in the community back home in Beloit, Wisconsin, and speaking to youth. And what I learned quickly was academic identities, and brilliance was not part of their understanding of self. I'm talking about like third grade. So for me, I made a decision then. It was like I want to go into a system to try to fight to ensure that other third graders, other fourth, I ended up teaching high school history. So other students at the high school level, especially, understood that they had exactly what they needed already to be great. They just needed to figure out and see that it was there. So I was blessed to, like I said, going into history. It was, again, going back to that word intentionality for me. What can I teach? Where can I have impact in? Where I knew myself, part of my greatness that I strive for was understanding and knowing that that's not new for me. I come from that.
Wow, I absolutely love it. You use three powerful words: disrupt, uplift, and liberate. What do those words look like in action? Like whether it's in a classroom, a boardroom, or even in the community. What does that look like for you?
Uh, Man, I think when we start thinking about disrupt, right? There's a current narrative that exists, and I was always taught, and the folks that I naturally inherently look up to, status quo was never enough. So the idea of disrupting current realities always remained real for me, and it became very, very clear at a young age, even before education came to me, that I was someone that was just not going to settle for my circumstances. Growing up in poverty, and I tell youth all the time, I'm right there at the cuffs where I'm old enough to know food stamps on the paper form before there was a Quest card, but I'm also young enough to still be able to talk about that stigma, of what it means to have to go to a store where you understand that no money's green, but you paying with something else because of your circumstances. So it was built in me to never settle. It was always built for me to, be like the ancestors that, flow through my veins and always fight. And with that same disruption is to uplift. I'm learning a lot through my Born Gifted work that a lot of our youth do not have the pride and dignity that they should have for who they are, because no one is ever there to tell them how amazing and dope they are. So for me, that uplifting part, if we're going to disrupt this narrative, if I'm going to undo what you currently have learned, we got to replace that information and we got to replace it with something else. And then hopefully that once you get that information, you're going to want to actually go on and go further and like do more. I think that's the other piece. We talk about the formula for success. We're born gifted is, purpose plus your resiliency plus your desire to reach back and uplift. It's going to guarantee success. And you point to any person that's successful, any org that's successful, they have a purpose. There's resiliency and fighting back and overcoming obstacles. And then there's always this, who are you doing it for?
Wow. Do you work with educators, individuals, or organizations as a whole?
The Born Gift3d, I've done it all. I got
Okay.
individual life coaching that I do, primarily with males, starting as young as teens all the way up to
Okay.
adults. I have, obviously worked in organizations, any organization that their mission is to work and serve and uplift, different communities from historically marginalized
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. To me, my goal, as I said here to you, is just like we have individuals who every job you go to, we all know you got to go through your different training with your handbook, and you got to go through your sexual harassment training, proper work procedures, and how to behave in a workspace. We should be having those same type of
Mm,
requirements for working in our communities if you're gonna serve folks that you don't
absolutely.
know. So the goal,
Absolutely.
goal is I'm building out right now this critical brokerage academy where my doctoral research is around critical brokerage and thinking about how do we provide relationships, opportunities, and resources and within these historically marginalized communities. And what I'm learning is individuals don't have the mindset that that's what they are there to do. So even in education, yes, you are a teacher. Yes, you're trying to help someone go to college or learn how to read, write, speak, listen. But a lot of folks are missing that piece of I'm also here to build relationships that can support these communities. I'm here to also provide tangible resources so that they can thrive and be prosperous as well.
Wow. So how do you help them, let's say, move from those performative statements about diversity and
Uh-huh.
inclusion to more authentic and cultural rooted action?
Oh yeah, my so a lot of my work has been steeped in Zaretta Hammond's work, culturally relevant teaching in the brain. Like I said, I got my doctoral, like the research. I use the framework on critical brokerage, and really tying those two pieces together. I think what has happened with race and racism in this country, and then you think about like equity work, is we get pigeonholed and we start thinking about all the harm that's being done,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't realize that, yeah, yes, harm has been done, but what has the harm been done to? And for me, it's focusing on that, the latter part. If a person has been harmed, that means there was something there before that we don't understand and know. So how do we not focus on the person that needs to change because they caused harm versus, well, let me help you understand and learn and know the individual that you actually harmed, so that if there is that connection, there is that growth, then you'll be able to uh, I would say more or less what I've seen in my career, and then my personal life too. I mean, I'm a black man in Wisconsin. It's only like, when I went to school there in UW Madison. It's like, we talking about 3% black youth folks on campus. So I'm not unfamiliar with having to operate and thrive and grow and persevere in predominantly white spaces. And what I realize is we always focus on the harm. We always focus on what folks don't know. We always focus on what they need to know, but nobody's ever creating spaces where you sitting down, or you breaking bread, or we leveling out, who we are, we taking titles off the table, and we going around. And like one of the activities that we're building out in like these gifted subscription boxes we're trying to create is a gratitude toast. So imagine a family receiving this kit, and then they're going to create, these different, whether it be a glass or, a cup or a mug for coffee, depending on what your thing is. And then sitting down in the morning or at dinner, you actually going around like having gratitude and saying what you're grateful for. You know what I mean? So we really trying to build up the families, but also trying to let folks into like, you can't know me if you don't know what I'm grateful for. You can't know me if you don't know what I've overcome or the obstacles I face. You know what I mean? So even in a world we talking about mental health, a lot of people are focusing on, okay, how do we fix mental health? What therapy services are needed? What can folks do to minimize the stress levels? But no one is really spending time within these historical marginalized communities talking about, well, what causes stress? What is this stress? How is that stress similar to my own stress? and us starting to build these bridges and these bonds versus continuing. I think what I've learned and seen, we see it in education all the time. We start talking about implicit bias. We start talking about microaggressions. People defenses go up, and then we continue to still do this. So even though we're supposed to be working together, trying to build bonds and bridges, because you said I did something, now I'm on the defense, and
That is
I'm
so true.
yeah,
That is so true.
yeah. Like, so it's
Yeah.
like we realizing, like, I want Born Gifted to be a space where we realize every single person, black, white, brown, indigenous, we all are impacted by what I will say now is it originally originated with capitalism. The whole idea of building ships to go get folks and people as cargo was
Mm,
all for a dollar and to make money and to prosper. So
yeah.
racism is a product of
Of
capitalism.
that.
So me understanding that, it's like, okay, everybody's struggling. You know, it ain't, when we talk about this country now, you know, it's not the same as it was when we talk about 1800s and the
Right.
have and nots. All of us out here struggling. So my goal with Born Gifted is trying to tap into that inherent. We all are out here as individuals. We
Yes.
all have gifts. We all come from a place in some way, shape, or form. We are struggling. How are we trying to
Yeah.
work together to like build a better us so
Wow.
that we can help these other individuals who need us to continue to push and do work.
Yeah. To build a better us. Yes. I love it. So, is there a moment when you knew that this is why you do what you do? It solidified the why for you.
Man, you know, I think my answer to that question, I think over time, like I continuously get those divine messages that just
Mm,
affirm it for me. I think, you know, my leadership hat was, I can honestly say it wasn't something that I picked up. It was like put on me. You know what I mean? So
mm,
when you the oldest growing up in a house, and you know, I think about Richard Williams, Serena and Venus's dad, how
mm.
I read his book, and he talked about my girls at 3 were out here putting phone books on people's porches, and people
Portraits, right?
thought I was crazy. And he's saying, like, no, I wasn't crazy, but it was, we all, this is a village. We all play a role and got to support. And I grew up in that environment, man.
Mm,
I grew up kind of knowing that if I was not able to step up for my mom, if I was not able to be an example for my community, and so my, even my community at that time was my brother and sister, it was like, you know,
mhm.
if I fail, they're gonna think it's not possible.
Wow.
And that continued to propel. So that the fast
Wow.
forward to me as, you know, an adult, reading the autobiography of Malcolm X and hearing his story, reading Huey Newton's revolutionary suicide text, and then you get more game and realize, oh my God, our school system taught us that the Panthers was this organization that we all black everything, forget everything else. And it was like you hearing this other man's words by me just being obedient and following what was, first it was Asada, then it was Malcolm X, then it became Huey's story. And it was like, oh, the trick is what Fred Hampton was already on. If I can make sure that they don't stay together, if I can
Mm,
make sure they don't link up and like join forces to fight against this system, then the game is already won. And I, as an educator, I feel like there's really my life and my story has been, I guess, that pivotal moment.
yes.
Still, I'm still learning now.
Okay.
Still, still gaining knowledge. I think that's the beauty of what I try to tell youth all the time when they asking why is school important, why are you pursuing education, what made you want to get your doctorate. It was the more education that I have obtained, that means the more methods of learning that I also get to engage with
Yes.
me a chance to debunk and strip away all the things that I did not need that
Wow.
harmed me along the way. And they don't tell you that. They
No.
typically tell you that you need to get to degree, get a job. And what I've learned is those things are important because again, we gotta be real about the society that we live in. But what for me has changed the game for me is that I now know, even through having to do your own research.
Mm.
When you do your own research and then you have your own findings,
That's right.
you realize like, oh my God, this whole scientific method. I now have a deeper understanding when we talk about
Yeah.
white supremacy culture and the elevation of the scientific method because I have to do it. And now I'm like, oh my God, every single thing that we follow or say is law or why you should do this and why you should do that was its own study at one point in time.
Yeah.
That means people have findings of their own. And me, I had to do my research. There's plenty of things that were my findings that I had to put to the side. Don't mean they're not relevant.
That's
They just
right.
added in. So uh, I
Wow.
think my mom, pivotal moment, her telling me, hey, you probably have to go walk on the moon before I'm surprised by any of the great
Wow.
things that you do. And
Wow.
hearing that is like
Wow.
that level of belief in who I am. Every single person out here, child or adult, working in an organization, executive director, program manager, whatever,
Wow.
to have people to believe in them that way.
Wow.
And for me, and Born Gifted is like
Mm.
that's what we're here for.
Wow. In hearing you say that, it's almost as if, and I know that there was pride that your mom was having for you, but it was more like expectation, like that. And I absolutely love that. It's like a different lens to look through. You tell your little ones, "Oh, that's so wonderful," but your mom was like, "I wouldn't expect anything different,"
Absolutely, absolutely.
and I love that.
Yeah. That's what I
I
said.
love
I
that.
was, I'm realizing now more so that it's funny, God speaking to me now. Like I always say like different individuals have like people talk about luck, right? And they get put into a certain era or time. Like I tell people
Yes,
all the time, Michael Jordan as a player, if you ever watched the series Last Dance or watch any other footage or read about him, you realize he was able to have the impact he was and be iconic because no one else played like him
like
until,
him at that time. Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So for me,
yes.
I'm continuously learning and realizing like, oh man, all these things that I all these things I overcame, man, and where I grew up and the time I grew up in, I literally feel like, the church
Hmm.
folks always say, you exist in between two worlds. And
Yes.
like, I remember encyclopedias just as much as I'm entrenched into the internet.
The internet, right?
I remember CDs and
Yes.
saying this is
Yes.
I'm in the digital, you know what I mean? So the
Yes.
second year, I was able to be blessed to be grow up in a community where I had a
Mm.
black principal, I had black teachers, young, until I got older and understood how, religion worked. We had black Jesus in our house with the
Hmm.
dreads. We had black Santa Claus in my house, right? Before all these things were mainstream,
Right. Absolutely.
and I think some of that comes from, my mom, her roots being in Mississippi, so we like, I'm would be then the third, technically the first generation born for my family outside of Mississippi. My mom was born in Mississippi. My grandma
Wow.
who actually migrated to St. Louis and then
Mm.
to Wisconsin. So that
Wow.
southernness, that roots, and me being in Tennessee now, I'm quickly learning like, oh, this is what it feels like to watch people around you maneuver still in 2025 in a way
Absolutely.
of like they still don't know how dope they are.
Absolutely.
Because it's like this level of I typically look at again my history brain come in and like stratification of like in classes in society, and it's like,
Wow.
what I mean, we even our own selves have bought so much into these different classes that we forget that like at one point in time, it didn't matter how much you had or where you came from. Black was black.
Wow.
Enslaved person was an enslaved person. And even
Wow.
so much so, they were writing and changing the rule book where at one point in time it was enough to just escape to freedom. Then it
Wow.
became, even if you get free, we still got a chance now. The fugitive slave that we can come get you and bring you back.
Exactly.
And so me kind of, having, like you said, that expectation of like, I ain't say a lot about my dad, right? Like his story and his struggle and being leader of gangs and having people look up to him, and even though they were doing things the wrong way,
Hmm.
it taught me very young of like what it means to actually
Wow.
move out here in a way that is impacting different people's lives. And that's all I've ever seen.
Wow. What advice would you give to other Black male, either educators or individuals out there who are trying to stay true to themselves and their communities while navigating systems that can feel resistant to change?
Sometimes the answer is very deep within you, and you got to just put in the time and energy to sit with self enough and long enough to know exactly what you need to do. I think uh, one of my mentees, he turns 26 on Sunday. We was having a conversation yesterday, and I kind of laugh because I also have people who give me the same wisdom, like that are like the same 12-year difference. I'm about to be 38, Lord willing, and August. So then I got 50-year-olds giving me wisdom, just like I'm 38, he's 26, same time difference. And he's how can I grow? How can I change? I want to have this by 40. And a lot of things are attributed to what you just mentioned around like, how do I, as a black man in this society, prosper while also trying to maintain who I am. And my advice to him was like, you can't maintain who you are if you don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you can't maintain that and then fall in love with yourself. If you love yourself, you're not going to want to be anything other than yourself. And I think that's been the work. And that's why I think identity and healing is so important. And it's still new when I go into spaces, like, you got a school, you doing the work, and I come to you and say the key to your youth and your staff both being the best they can be, and you being able to get them to perform at the high levels you want to perform, is for them to know who they are, for them to heal from the things that have caused them to believe otherwise. Most folks gonna look at you like, huh? That's not. And then I got to remind them, don't forget, I also was a principal too. So embedded in there are going to be all the literacy work. It's going to be all the social emotional learning work. But people should be able to have the opportunity to know that no matter what space I go in, personal or professional, people care enough about me to know who I am and want me to be the best version of myself. And that's what I think people need to know. I would tell any black male who's trying to find a way to succeed in and remain true to themselves is really know who you are and where you come from. Because once you do, you won't be able to escape it.
Wow. So what's next for Born Gifted? Are there any projects or anything exciting that you are going to bring to life in these coming weeks or months?
Yes, ma'am. We talked about a couple of them. I know the very first one is I'm working on this project where I'm trying to bring subscription boxes to the homes and doorsteps of youth across this country, where within them is going to be some of the things we were talking about, with the brand. So there, within the Born Gifted brand, there's Gifted Game, which follows all of our work with communities, work with youth, and work with adults fall under Gifted Game. And within our curriculum, if you think about a crown, back in the day, crowns used to have all the different jewels that would be bedazzled within them. So each lane of our curriculum is representative of a jewel, which is built off of Thanos, and the marble concept of all infinity stones. So for me, it's really trying to get individuals to understand at their doorstep with their families, who you are, where you come from, and then that is connected to, I call them gifted bricks, because if you think about the pyramid of Giza, there are, over 2 million bricks that make up that pyramid. So for me, it's like I want that first. It's three of them. I want the 2 million of the largest one. I want 2 million bricks in different people's homes, and I want them all to know you are a part of this bigger pyramid. Because to me, when I think about a structure like the Pyramid of Giza, it's fascinating. Before all this technology, before all of that, we can create something as a people that can withstand time that way. And for me, I'm understanding that no matter, similar to what my mom always told me, if you have the education pairs, no matter what happened to you, no one can take that away from you. And I'm finally understanding what that means. So we got these subscription boxes. I want kids to get excited, about some a gifted brick coming to their doorstep, like they do about a pair of Jordans coming to their doorstep. Hello Fresh brings food to people's doorsteps. I want people to know that, like, oh my God, within this gifted brick is a family project that we're gonna work on, where we're gonna cook a meal together, and it's gonna be healthy, and we're gonna talk and learn what it means to be healthy, what's a chronic illness, what type of illnesses affect marginalized communities, things like that coming to their doorstep. And then the Critical Brokerage Academy is what I'm working on. So where to be a 12-week curriculum, self-paced, or a cohort style, where individuals can like actually sign up and go through becoming a critical broker, based on research, based on practicality, and then from that piece, being able to actually say, like, I feel now I've went through and know what it means to actually be an individual that can go into our communities and actually help build these relationships, actually help provide these resources, connect folks to resources and opportunities. So for me, those are the next piece. For me, the biggest piece with the brand, trying to bring the brand to more people. I think schools are great. That's where we are at for learning. But what I've learned personally myself as an educator is that schools are not always the space and place where they are trying to teach beyond, especially in this day and age now, like standards. They have a very particular way they want to uplift teaching and learning and the standards. And me, like I said, me being in the trenches, as I call them, I don't, you can never take the educator out of me. So forever be a teacher, forever be a leader, a school leader. So everything I'm creating and building is always with that in mind, but also understanding that, 12th grade, not everybody even make it there. You know what I'm saying? So in order to get an individual to want to achieve greatness academically, I have to first get them to understand that they are academic and that they deserve, and I say the word intentionally, deserve to learn at the highest level and capable of doing it. So now we're like, okay, how are we going to do that? We got to bring it to the people. And those who want to become that, we got to be able to help build their capacity to do the same. That's what we're hoping to do with that academy.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So you have to tell our listeners and our viewers how they can connect with you, how can they learn more about Born Gifted, and how they can support your mission.
Oh man. So Born Gifted, 3 instead of the E. They'll be on social media platforms. So search me there. I got a YouTube channel I just started where I'm dropping some gifted game all the time, different videos. You just search on YouTube, Dr. Paris Echoles, and it'll pop right up where I'm dropping videos again, calling gifted game, with the as Beyonce got her Sasha Fierce to go with Beyonce Knows. I got my PhDP to go with Dr. Paris Echoles. So come get some game for PhDP. We talking from everything and not just education, academics, but we talking about family, how to make sure you live in life with gratitude, eating healthy, whatever again, holistic wellness is what the brand's about. And then how to support the work. For me, man, I'm in Tennessee now. We travel. It's hybrid. It's me in person. If you're really trying to do the work, if you really are trying to say you are wanting to uplift, these different individuals, these communities, if you're trying to build collaboration within your communities and make your communities better, let's partner, let's collaborate. Let's put some of these bricks in the hands of our youth who need them. I think that's the beauty of that. Even if you may have a family of your own, I already got a thing where built in within the brand because I know how it is with money. I don't want that to be an issue. That when each time a family buys a subscription brick, that goes to a free subscription brick to somebody else, just to make sure everybody has access because we all need to gain.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Echoles, thank you. This has truly been a blessing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your story, and your vision. I just believe that your dedication to disrupting what needs to be challenged, uplifting our communities, and liberating what's possible is exactly the spirit we need in education today. So thank you so much for being my guest.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. And to our listeners and viewers, I hope that today's conversation inspires you to tap deeper into your own purpose and to remember that transformation always starts with people. Be sure to follow Dr. Paris Echoles and his work at Born Gifted LLC. I'll be sure to drop all the links in the show notes so that you can stay connected and support this powerful mission. I'm Dr. Sharon H. Porter. I want to thank you for listening to Champions of Change podcast. And until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep championing change. Thank you for joining the Champions of Change podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join us for a new episode every Tuesday, wherever you listen to your podcast.